As a run and gun filmmaker, capturing B-roll that is both cinematic and engaging has to be one of the greatest tools in our arsenal. But oftentimes it falls flat by looking too repetitive, it's not composed properly, or it just doesn't tell a good story. Simply put, it looks boring. But today, we're gonna fix that. Let's get into it. So why is it that when we show up to a day to shoot, and we start pointing the camera, we hit record, and we're ready to shoot some B-roll, that it ends up looking so flat and boring? Well, first, I would say it's because there's no pre-production planning. Planning is something anyone can do. And to do this to get great B-roll shots, you need to first visualize the shots before the day of the shoot. You need to write out a shot list, get some reference shots from Shot Deck or FrameSet. Know the music that you're gonna use to get the energy and the vibe of each scene. Know how you're gonna hold the camera. Is the camera gonna be handheld? Is it gonna be on sticks? Is it on a gimbal? Knowing all these things before you show up and shoot will get you right in the creative mindset before you hit record. In that pre-production process, make sure you schedule your shoot at the right time of day, and finding the right location are crucial. You can have the right gear, the right camera, the right lenses, even the right composition, the right subject, the right actor, but if you don't shoot at the right time of day or you don't have good locations, then your B-roll is gonna fall flat and look boring. Getting people outside of the studio and in their context, their workplace, at a park, doing a hobby they love, all of these things are good to capture some quality B-roll. The next reason why your B-roll is boring is because there's too much slow motion. I remember when 120 frames came out, 4K, it was beautiful, it was awesome. Getting those slow motion shots were great. But then we started way overly using it. And slow motion, just like anything, should be done in moderation. But now the trend, or I wouldn't even say the trend, but more to relate to your audience authentically, you wanna put them in the environment of your character. You wanna make them feel what they're feeling. And in order to do that, if you're shooting at 24 frames in real time, it makes them feel like they're right there in the moment. But shooting slow motion gives some sort of separation, or impressionism, or false reality. It's cool, it can be dramatic, but if it's overused, then your B-roll ends up boring. Another thing I would say is there's no dynamics in your shot. What I mean by that is contrast. So like when you watch a movie, you have rising action, climax, falling action, character arc that is happening. Well, when you're shooting B-roll, whether it's a wedding, a documentary, a corporate video, you should include something that keeps the audience engaged by having dynamic shots. So let's say if you were shooting a guy in his workshop, don't just shoot for an hour him building something with these close macro shots. Have your camera on sticks, have it moving on a gimbal, have it handheld. This will all improve the contrast and the interest of your story. Another thing I would say of why our B-roll is so boring is because of compositional flaws. If you want to be a good cinematographer, you have to master composition. You have to learn the rule of thirds, leading lines, symmetry, balance frames, as well as getting depth with your character and having maybe something in the foreground, having a pleasing background. You've got to get out there and practice. And one thing I would say is taking something ordinary and mundane, like take a candle, for example, and make it look good. Just put it on your kitchen counter and shoot it every way that you can think of, making it look amazing. The next thing I'd say is the absence of story. The reason why your B-roll looks bad is because you don't have a story behind it. You're just out looking to shoot the prettiest image possible. But stories aren't always pretty. They're gritty, they're raw, they're authentic, and you have to approach your video shoot by finding the story and then creating B-roll around that. So here's a couple key components I would say to build the story through your B-roll. Number one, shoot for coverage. When you approach a scene, don't just jump right into the closest shot, the coolest shot that you can find. Think about the establishing shot. Think about a wide, a master, a medium, a close, and get that coverage of your character. Maybe your character's walking to a place or doing something with some sort of action, or he has something in his hand. Make them do that 3 different times and get a wide, a medium, and a close-up. This will help improve your story because then you can build off that scene. So number 1 would be coverage, and then number 2 is having a transitional B-roll shot. And usually I would do this by an establishing shot or something that would create the context of the scene. How are you going to get into the scene and how are you going to exit the scene with your shots? You gotta think about the post-production, not just while you're there sitting, getting cool shots. You have to think about what's the frame of mind of the characters, what's the emotion of the scene, and then how are we going to exit this? Is it quiet? Is it loud? Is it gonna end in a bang? Is it going to be a loud transition? Are you going to cut on action? So having transitional scenes for your B-roll will improve your story. The last thing I would say with B-roll is capturing good audio. You say, well, I thought this was only about clips. Well, in order to have a good clip, you need to immerse the audience with good audio. To do this, obviously having some scratch audio from the camera, but then of course having an onboard mic or miking up your character is crucial for pulling in that emotive experience that your audience is going to go on. So obviously capturing B-roll is an important part of creating any captivating video. And so I hope some of these principles or reasons why your B-roll is boring, maybe one or two of them had caught your attention. Maybe you're in a bit of a rut for shooting. I would say get out there and just kind of practice shooting things that are ordinary to see how you compose a shot and improve your overall technique as a filmmaker. And I just wanted to give a little bit of an announcement. I'm gonna be changing the channel name from Resonate Films to Drew Shetler, just simply because I feel like I want to connect with people more. And when I'm just in the comments as Resonate Films, I don't feel like it's as authentic, and people connect with people, right? That's what we're here for, to establish that community, that relationship, learn something, grow together. I'll still have Resonate Films. It's still my production company, but that's where I'm going to be doing my business, but I'm going to be connecting with you all right here as Drew Shetler. So thanks for watching, you guys. I'll see you in the next one.